Guilt transcends Judaism.
That's fair. That's a
It's
good point.
everywhere. It doesn't matter what religion you are. Your parents will guilt trip you.
There will be guilt.
It's ingrained. We're already planning guilt tripping Hunter.
How do we do this the best?
Yeah.
All right.
Screw his college fund. We need to learn how to guilt trip him. Let's build this plan.
This is guilt fund.
Welcome to Theoretical Nonsense, the Big Bang Theory watch-along podcast. No PhD required.
We're the podcast that recaps all the episodes of The Big Bang Theory. No spoilers.
So hop into your favorite spot.
Make yourself a grasshopper
And enjoy the ride. Hello there, Ryan.
Hello, Rob.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing great because we just watched Season 3, Episode 20 of The Big Bang Theory, The Spaghetti Catalyst.
Hell yeah.
For any new listeners out there, I'm Rob, and this is my co-host Ryan. We are Theoretical Nonsense, the podcast that recaps, reviews, and deep dives facts from The Big Bang Theory, which we call IQ points. And as a reminder to everyone, I've seen the series multiple times, but this is Ryan's first time watching, so we do our best to do no spoilers. And Ryan has been told that he's very similar to Sheldon, so we keep a point tally of how close Ryan is to Sheldon.
Yeah, and that tally right now is 94 points being not like Sheldon, and 96 points throughout the series that I have identified as being like Sheldon. So it's pretty close, but a little bit more Sheldon-y right now.
Nice. Well, we'll see if it tips the scales at all in this next episode.
It might.
Wonder if you have any fun stories about hot dogs and dogs.
I had fun doing that IQ point, I tell you what.
I'll tell you what. Well, a little bit of housekeeping before we dive in. Don't forget to email us at theoreticalnonsensepod@gmail.com. Leave us a review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Theoretical Nonsense Pod. Well, shall we dive in then?
Yeah.
Should we talk overall thoughts of the episode?
Yeah, I have to say, this one started off, and I thought it was going to be a, was it like a Fred Flintstone situation where I can't remember the episode, but he's like supposed to be bowling and supposed to be having dinner with his wife. And I thought it was going to be Sheldon running back and forth having two dinners. And it was just kind of like part of the episode. And so I was kind of like not amused at first. But then it turned into something that I thought was a pretty strong episode and kind of expanded on some of the character development and the relationship between Penny and Leonard. So I liked where it ended up. And I thought it was funny, especially towards the end.
Yeah, I really enjoy this episode because it's very plot heavy. It kind of just actually drives like the main storyline. But you're right. There's almost like an A and B like storylines that rather than having an A and B plot line happening simultaneously, it kind of just it feels like it just stops and then it just dives into almost like a different storyline.
Yeah.
Like between the first and the second half, and it always throws me off because I actually enjoyed the dinner part more than I enjoyed the second parts. Because the dinner part, it's like you said, you kind of think that there's going to be a little bit more sneaking around, which is going to lead to more comedy and more antics and everything, but it doesn't. He just kind of comes clean at the middle of the episode, and then it's just kind of how they coexist.
And then it turns into more Leonard and Penny's story as opposed to Sheldon and Penny.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind
I
of...
think I definitely like the Sheldon and Penny stuff more than I like the other stuff.
And I thought it had some laughs at the end. I like both parts. I just was thinking that this is one thing, and it kind of became a different, and I didn't know exactly what to make of it. So, but overall, not a weak episode. Maybe not my favorite, but a fun one, I would say.
Yeah,
and fun parts.
This is Season 3, Episode 20, The Spaghetti Catalyst. Aired May 3rd, 2010, written by Chuck Lorre, Bill Prady, and teleplay by Lee Aronson. and directed by Anthony Rich. Someone new.
Good old Anthony, who we've never heard of before.
Yep.
But I'm looking
Let's
for it.
hope he does a good job.
Yeah, if he
Maybe
doesn't,
that's why it's so. Maybe that's why it's so jerky.
yeah, he didn't know what he was doing, and that's why they bring him back.
Yep. For 12 more episodes.
12 more
but more on
episodes.
him later. All right, we have the opening scene. Penny is in the lobby, and we find out that her visa was canceled. But it's a good thing that she got a new MasterCard. Enter Sheldon, and he doesn't know what to do. He needs to grab his mail, but Penny is there. He pauses, and Penny asks if he's going to get the mail telepathically, but then he corrects her and says that she means telekinetically. I didn't do an IQ point on this because I thought it was pretty self-explanatory, but did you?
Nope, I thought about that, and I thought it was pretty self-explanatory too. I was going to say pretty quick point for Sheldon. I know that feeling of standing there awkwardly, not knowing exactly what to do, dumb smile on my face, and people looking at me like, what the fuck do you want? And I'm like, waiting for my mail or whatever it might be. Maybe I'm at the deli counter. I'm like, I want that piece of meat right there. And they're like, oh, and then move. But like, I just kind of stand there and smile and wait. And they look at me like, what? I'm like, somehow I'm the weird guy here. But I feel like there might be a better way to handle the situation. I just don't know. I handle it like Sheldon. So 1 point for Sheldon.
Well, next time you're at the deli counter, just push everybody out of the way and say, you know who I am?
You know who I am?
I'm Brian.
I'm Brian.
Well, Sheldon doesn't know what the proper protocol is now that she and Leonard are no longer having coitus. And she just kind of like freaks out at that. Says, just say that we're no longer seeing each other. But Sheldon, being too literal, says that they see each other all the time, and the only thing that's changed is the coitus. She assures him that they're still friends, and he needs to stop saying coitus. And
Coitus,
Sheldon
coitus.
is happy. Sheldon is happy with that, since accommodating her in his life was a huge effort, and he doesn't want it to be in vain. And he goes on, and he said that he's going to start substituting coitus with intercourse or fornication. But fornication has a judgmental overtone, so he'll reserve that one.
I don't think I have a problem with coitus. Do you? Like, I think intercourse is weirder. I think boinking is probably the worst. But
inappropriate.
Yeah, I remember I once used coitus in a poem, and people were like, "No, don't use that." I'm like, I'm fine with it. So
it rhymes with moistus.
Moistus.
I have to use it.
It's the only word that rhymes with moistus.
Well, I did an IQ point on fornication, and if it actually does have a judgmental overtone. Because I hear that it's never really been a term that's been in my vocabulary. I don't really use it, but I hear it being used here and there. So I was like, is it judgmental? Is it judgy to say that you're fornicating, or if you're a fornicator?
I would say no,
out.
But I'm curious what you came up with.
Well, according to dictionary.com, the true definition of fornication is voluntary sexual intercourse between two unmarried persons, or two persons not married to each other. So based off that, I can see it being a tad judgy, as history has shown its disapproval of sex before marriage. But then again, modern times has replaced this term with more judgmental, neutral terms like premarital sex, or extramarital sex, or recreational sex.
Friends with benefits.
There it is.
Something just clicked with me. And wow, I don't know why I've never picked up on this, but both the show and the song by Red Hot Chili Peppers, Californication.
California.
I always thought that just meant like becoming a Californian, but that's having to do with sex, isn't it?
I'm pretty sure every one of their songs is about sex.
Yeah, wow. And I think every episode of Californication was about sex, so god damn I'm
Yes.
slow. Wow.
Yeah, isn't that about him being a sex addict?
Yep, an alcoholic and a sex addict. Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
How did I miss this? Oh, doop doop. That's
Oh,
just
Ryan.
me sitting there smiling.
Look who's just a pretty face.
That's me now. Wow. I god damn. Okay, well I learned something today.
And let's hope the audience did too.
Yeah.
Well, I actually did a little bit of research on premarital sex, extramarital sex, or recreational sex.
Yeah.
I looked at the statistics for how many people are doing it, for the lack of a
Doing
better term.
it.
Just to show that there really shouldn't be any judgmental connotations for fornication, because guess what? We all do it.
Hopefully. It's
Well, there is a small percentage of people that don't. According to the National Library of Medicine, a 2006 study pulled data from a 2002 survey, and it showed that for Americans, by the age of 20, 77% of the respondents have had sex. 75% had premarital sex, and 12% had been married, or were married when they had sex. By the age of 44, 95% of the respondents have had sex, and 97% had premarital sex. Among the respondents for women who turned 15 between the years of 1964 and 1993, at least 91% had had premarital sex by the age of 30. Among those turning 15 between the years of 1954 and 1963, 82% had premarital sex by the age of 30. So it seems that fornication has been very common in America for decades. So
Wait,
it's
what was
all
that?
good.
They're turning what at the age of 30?
15 between the ages of, or between the years of 1954 and 1963. It's kind of illustrating that fornication or premarital sex is common, that it doesn't matter what era you're actually from. Because a lot of people think that, like, oh, those years in the past were the more wholesome years. But for any listeners out there, I just did air quotes. The
So you're saying
wholesome
like
years.
for women between 15 and 30, is that right? Or am I misunderstanding?
Oh no, but it's looking at the age range. So they're looking at, yeah. So it's pretty much between the ages of 15 and 30.
Okay, okay.
If they had been turning 15, so if they turned 15 years old between the years of 1954 and 1963, it's pretty much like, because I guess 15 is the primary sex age.
All
That's
right.
that's why they started the survey at that point.
I,
Like, if you
I, I
turn 15 between this year, by the time they're 30, they definitely had premarital sex. Or at least
I
82% did.
was taking that as they were questioning people turning 15 if they've had sex. I'm like, God damn, I hope not. That's really, really young. So,
Yeah.
but you're saying between like 15 and 30 who turned
Yeah.
15 and became, I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah,
It's
so
making
this
more
survey was conducted in 2002.
uh
Unfortunately, oddly enough, throughout like the article that I read, it didn't say how many respondents actually were. So I don't know how many people actually filled out this survey.
Oh.
So that's one downfall of this one. But it does illustrate that fornication is very common.
And for those not having it, I hope they're happy and they're living their best life too. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
But long story short, I'm just going to say no judgment.
No judgment.
Then Sheldon makes a joke, and he's just coitusing with Penny. I like that joke. Ha 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 ha. She asks how Leonard is. He's been spending time looking at photos of Penny and smelling the pillow that she used. But he wasn't supposed to tell her that. Then he notices the spaghetti sauce in her bag, Mama Italia Marinara, which I looked into, and not a real sauce.
Ooh. I was thinking about looking into it, but then I got sidetracked with how he pronounced Italian. And I just started thinking about that
It's
the
a
whole time.
real Italian meal.
Italian.
But yeah, searched high and low. Google searched. I just did a Google search, just browsed the web. I even went to like some major grocery chains. I went on
Mm.
their website and tried to search for it just to kind of add to cart and stuff like that. Never found it. And then I thought to myself, well, maybe it's a small company. But then again, that doesn't make sense because if Sheldon had it in Texas and they're in Pasadena right now, it'd be big enough to be like have its own website. So
Yeah.
I'm going to say it's not real.
I also think it's funny that she has sauce and spaghetti, and later on he's going to say she's a good cook, that she was able to cook that for him. I'm like, but it was noodles and she already had the sauce. It's basically pre-cooked. But
But she probably cooked the noodles. It's still
yeah,
cooking. It's still the preparation of food.
you
I
gotta
count
start
that as
somewhere.
cooking. Yeah. Well, he says it's the same sauce that his mom uses. She loves to cook Italian because, according to Mrs. Cooper, it's what the Romans made Jesus eat. She offers to cook for him sometime, and he says, well, why can't sometime be now? And then he asks if she could add hot dogs. She says that she doesn't have any, but it's a good thing that Sheldon does have some. And they're about to have a real Italian treat. He enters his apartment, and the guys are all there with food, and he tells them that he was speaking with Penny. And then he gets a lesson on bro code, that it's totally not cool. And Leonard says that everything's fine, he's over it. And then Raj throws him under the bus and says that he's been whining about creating the Men in Black mind wiper. And Sheldon says that he would love it because then he could use it on himself to erase Ben Affleck as Daredevil. Burn.
Bird. I have to say that I have a failed IQ point here. I was going to look up some information on proper protocol of dealing with having two friends who are in a relationship who break up, but after several minutes, it became clear that all the information is how do you treat mutual friends who are friends with your ex, not what happens if you're the friend who's friends with both of them. So I kind of got the impression that it's just kind of accepted that remain friends with both of them. If they can't handle it, that's their problem. But it really was not. I was expecting more, but it was all about what do I do if my friend still likes my girlfriend or something like that. I don't know.
Wait,
So
if my friend likes my girlfriend?
like my ex-girlfriend, so not like
Oh,
but like. Wow, that was confusing. So like if I have a friend who is friends with me and my ex-wife, and we divorce and he's still friends with me and my ex-wife, like how do I
yeah.
treat him and how do I handle the situation? That's the type
Oh,
of
it's about
information.
yeah. Okay, it's the reversal of what's happening, pretty much.
Exactly, like basically how Leonard should act as opposed to how Sheldon should act. And I was curious what Sheldon should do because they're all giving him lectures on bro code, but I think that's bullshit. So I was like, what should he do? But there wasn't really much information because I think it's common sense that he should, they should grow up and he should be friends with who he wants to be friends with.
Yep. All right, well, Howard says that he needs to pick a side, Team Leonard or Team Penny. And Sheldon asks, well, which one picks last? I like that.
Yeah.
I always pick last. Well, Leonard presents Sheldon with his tangerine chicken, and then he decides to eat it because he doesn't have to, like, go anywhere. And he's like, go Team Leonard. Then it jumps, does a little time jump. The guys are eating, and Sheldon is getting through it, and he gets the last dumpling. Raj asks Howard if he's concerned about going to hell for eating pork, but then Howard says Jews don't have hell; they have acid reflux.
I love that line so much. I had to pause it because I was laughing. Like, Jewish, we don't have hell. We have acid reflux.
Well, I did a little bit of research on this. Not being Jewish, I'm sure that this is common for a lot of people, but I didn't know this. I did not know that Jews did not have hell. Did you?
I did. I'm not super familiar with it, but it's not. It's definitely not. The religion isn't about punishment like Catholicism, Christianity. of you were bad, you didn't accept Jesus, you're going to hell. Like, it's not about that. It's more about developing yourself and being a better person because but as we've seen before, apparently there's a whole lot of guilt, and we can see that with Howard and his mom, that she guilts him a lot. So there is still guilt, but not necessarily the fear of being sent to hell. That was my knowledge of it, but I'm curious what you have because I like learning.
Yeah,
So
the guilt transcends Judaism.
that's
It's
fair. That's a good point.
Everywhere. It doesn't matter what religion you are. Your parents will guilt trip you.
There will be guilt.
It's ingrained. We're already planning guilt tripping Hunter.
How do we do this the best?
Yeah. Screw his college fund. We need to learn how to guilt trip him. Let's build this plan.
This is guilt fund.
Well, I wanted to learn a little bit more about this since I really don't know a lot about other religions. So I found this on the Jerusalem Post, and then Join Cake, which is a Jewish blog, and then Shabbat.org and LearnReligions.com. Our fan Michelle actually gave us a Jewish website, Jewfacts.com. I tried looking up that, but that's more of it's more of a search engine on trying to find information, and I tried searching for it, but I couldn't find a lot of articles. It wasn't really that easy to navigate, so I couldn't really find anything on that.
I was going to say, if you're searching for hell and they don't have hell, it's not going to pop up, is it?
Exactly, and that's why I typed in, and nothing popped up.
Catch 22 there.
Son of a gun. Well, according to these sites, Jewish texts are very rarely mention death, but there are metaphors and imagery that indicate the immortality of the soul. This is because they want to put the focus on the present life instead of death. So there's no official Jewish opinion regarding what the afterlife looks like, but the texts do state that righteous actions in this life will be rewarded, and the negative actions will be punished. Therefore, it is important to lead a meaningful and generous life, even if we don't know exactly what will happen when we die. But there is a Jewish term for hell, and it's called Genion or Genion, Genion. This is a belief from traditional Judaism where unrighteous souls are sent to be purified. But many Reform Jews believe that God has an ultimately caring nature, which eliminates the possibility of a torturous afterlife. In Judaism, many believe that the soul continues to the afterlife consciously and receives judgment. Others, however, believe the soul survives after death but does not maintain consciousness. Some believe that consciousness will be restored in the Messiah age, a time known as the world to come. Some believe in resurrection, but only for the righteous. But others do believe that both the righteous and the wicked will live again through resurrection. Many modern-day Jewish people embrace the idea that we don't know what happens when we die. Instead, it's more important to focus on making the most of this life. Each person's responsibility, according to Judaism, is to focus on living a meaningful life. It's not a person's role in life to speculate on what happens after death. So that was vague, and after reading up and studying, it makes sense. The Hebrew Bible encourages its followers not to worry about it, but it's human nature to think about what happens to us when we die. And that's why there's so many schools of thought on this topic.
Fair.
Yeah, so they're kind of just all over the place, but it's like what you said. The more important thing is how you live your life. Don't think about what happens after. Just live now. Live now and be a good person.
Yeah, develop yourself, be better. How can you do better than you were right now? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Something like that.
So, putting the spotlight on Michelle, if you have anything to add, please feel free to email us.
And if you have any stories about acid reflux like Howard, go for it.
Yeah, how often do you go to Jewish hell? Well, Leonard asks if they all want to do something after dinner. Howard can't because he's picking up his mom from water aerobics. Raj gets whiny that he only wants to hang out since he doesn't have a girlfriend anymore, and he's the friend you call when you're out of options. And then he disses Aquaman. All this while Sheldon tries to be cryptic. He goes to the kitchen for a beverage, but he's really grabbing the hot dogs. And then Leonard says, "Screw it, I'll be alone tonight." And then Raj gets mad, which I love.
I like that.
Oh, now I'm not good enough for you?
No, I'm not good enough.
Well,
and Raj
Sheldon
gets
now
kind of
says
creepy
that,
too, right? So I like where this is going
Yeah.
because like he's already starting off. I love Raj.
needy and creepy, and he just needs love. You know what? Like when you're like sometimes when you're used to always third wheeling it, you just need a little. You need a little love and attention.
Yeah.
That's where Raj is right now. Well, Sheldon says that he's going to go out for his after dinner walk, and the guys are suspicious because he's never done anything like this before. And Sheldon says that he read a study online that says walking after a meal not only aids in digestion, but increases serotonin. And you know me, if there's one thing I like more than a refreshing beverage, it's serotonin. Bye bye.
I did an IQ point on this one. Do you
Oh,
look into this?
nice. I did not.
Did not? Okay, cool. So I'm finding this to be mostly true. It's kind of weird. I looked at a couple different websites. But what I found, yeah, mostly true. So I think I started off at livewelldorset.co.uk, and it kind of discussed the differences between morning walks and evening walks, and which are better. And it suggests that morning walks, I found this on a couple different websites, that if you walk before a meal or specifically before breakfast, you burn fat instead of calories. And some people are going for that. And maybe it's like, will work on burning like belly fat or something, as opposed to just working on the calories you just ate. And it also suggests that it can help suppress hunger and make it less tempting to snack during the day. Whereas evening meals will burn calories that were used that you just ate, and it's going to help prevent overeating at night and reduce blood sugar spikes post your dinner meal. So it basically came down to both sides had pros and cons, that really, if you want to walk, just pick the time that works best for you, that it's not enough benefit to walk at one particular time over the other. However, I then went to goodrx.com that said technically 10 to 15 minute walks after every meal can aid in digestion, lower blood sugar, and reduce heart disease rates. It says walks speed up digestion, but apparently the information it gave said there's some mixed research on this, on how much improved digestion goes. That some say that it just helps stuff move through you more, but not actually helping with stuff like acid reflux or indigestion of like belching and flatulence and bloating. But some websites, some research articles do say, according to goodrx.com, that walking for 10 to 15 minutes after a meal can actually reduce belching, flatulence, bloating as much as some medications. So I think that's what Sheldon's talking about, but there was some kind of questions on that exactly. And then I went into specifically the Jewish hell of acid reflux, and again, some sites are claiming, it will help acid reflux from appearing later in the evening, that basically by helping digestion speed through, it's helping food get out of the stomach and into the intestines so that it doesn't come back up later. But again, I wasn't finding, what should I say? I was finding mixed information on this, that some scientists are like, some are like, maybe not so much. And last, connexushealthcare.org, because I wanted to know about the serotonin, said that walks can produce dopamine, and morning walks giving us that hit of dopamine helps prepare us for the day and helps prepare us to get more stuff done. So technically, they recommend the morning walk over the evening walk because then you're just kind of wasting that dopamine hit. But they also said walks can produce serotonin, but more than that, being out in daylight can help us produce serotonin. So walking during the day, if you want serotonin, is apparently more effective at producing serotonin. And they said that it's also, again, I don't know how effective this actually is, but they suggest that serotonin converts into melatonin. So if you're looking to wake up early and go to bed early, then walking in the morning and during the day helps you produce serotonin, which will convert into melatonin when it's time to go to bed. However, if you're walking right after dinner, you might produce serotonin, and that might help keep you awake before that melatonin or the serotonin converts into melatonin, and you get to sleep later on. So if you're experiencing some what's the word, insomnia, walking may not necessarily help you get to sleep. So again, I'd say mostly true that it does help with serotonin. It might not be the best in the evening. And as far as meal digestion, there were some kind of mixed reviews on that. I think most information was saying that's true. But again, if you are looking for health benefits, just getting out there and walking is probably going to outweigh any of the negatives. So just like getting some exercise is probably better than worrying about like, am I getting more serotonin or enough serotonin? Just the exercise in general is probably for the best. So that's what I got. Most was probably leaning more towards morning, daytime, but just getting out at all is good.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, you just got to do you should just walk whenever you have time and just do it when you can.
Exactly. And some sites were saying like, even like a 5 to 10 minute walk, or even some were saying like 3 to 5 minutes, just walking around a little bit and getting up and being a little active is enough to get your body kind of working and processing the food. So, it doesn't have to be, well, when he comes back, it's been an hour and a half. It's like, I've been walking the whole time. So it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be like a huge workout. It's just like a little thing to get your muscles moving and get your system working. Yeah.
It's probably why the Apple Watch has like a notification thing for you to remind you to stand up
Yeah.
and just get up and do something.
Ryan, you've been sitting for 5 days. Please, for the love of God, get up. No, I won't get up. I am here forever.
Your Apple Watch just explodes.
Goodbye.
It just thinks you're dead. It calls 911 for you.
That's actually, my car does that apparently. I read the directions. I don't know if I told you this, but it has lane assist. And with lane assist, like if I take my hands off the drive steering wheel, like the cameras and sensors will try to stay in the lane for a little bit. But if that goes on for like, I don't know, 5 seconds or so, it'll beep and say, please take a hold of the steering wheel. And then I can't remember the exact course of action, but it'll try again. And if it doesn't get a response or like feel you grip it, the instructions say it will come to a stop and try to contact emergency services, assuming you've died. So I'm like, damn it, my car's a narc, but that's kind of good too. That like,
I wouldn't call them a narc. It's trying to say it's a hero. I've seen like videos on like dashboard cams and everything like that when like you actually see like someone has like a stroke or passes out like behind the wheel. All of a sudden they just start drifting and everything like that. Like, oh God.
Or falls asleep because you're tired. Like I've known people who've gone into accidents like that. So it's probably a good thing. My issue with it is that I will be holding and steering and it will still yell at me and say, take a hold of the wheel. I'm like, what do you think I'm doing? Like, I'm not just...
I'm not drifting. I'm not doing anything. I'm just driving.
I'm actually like drifting like between oncoming traffic. Like, I'm doing fine.
Everything's fine. There's nothing wrong with my eyesight.
Now, where am I?
Who am I?
Who am I? Where did all this water come from?
Anything else on walking walking before or after a meal?
That's my walking tidbit. That's all.
All right. Well, Howard decides to leave with him, and then Sheldon tries to think of a reason why not. It's like, wait, nope, can't think of one. All
Can't
right,
think.
let's go.
Wait, just a sec. No, okay.
And then Raj, so full of love, looks over to Leonard and says, "I've missed you."
So
And
I get
now we're
one
down.
point for being like Raj here. I have been known to say weird shit like this, and I
There's
probably
nothing
look
weird
just
about
like
that.
that.
Telling your friend that you miss them.
That's love and care.
Yeah.
He says he misses Leonard. He- I love that line too. Okay.
Well, now we're down at the lobby, and Sheldon is trying to ditch Howard very unsuccessfully. They end up outside, and there's a foreshadowing of a dog. And then Sheldon keeps trying to ditch Howard unsuccessfully. And then Howard eventually leaves, and then the dog finds Sheldon. And then he has to run for his life.
So I have my IQ point on hot dogs here.
Nice.
Because Howard was just flat out wrong. He lied. Maybe he didn't lie, but he says he smells raw hot dogs, right? And Sheldon's like, it's not. Yeah, I don't know what that is. And the dog chases him. Well, the dog probably smells the hot dogs. There's no such thing as raw hot dogs.
Because they're all technically. I mean, would that just be semantics at this point?
Nope,
Like,
they are fully cooked. They are cold, but they are cooked.
Are they technically ready to eat?
Yep.
There is technically a difference between ready to eat and non ready to eat foods.
If they're not ready to eat, they are called sausages. But if they are cooked and smoked, they have to be cooked and smoked to be called sausage or hot dogs. And technically, I can get into the whole thing and the whole.
I would like you to.
How they're made. Oh yeah.
I want to know.
All right. So according to Food Safety and Inspection Service (USDA), Frankfurters, aka hot dogs, wieners, and bologna. You said bologna, right?
I say bologna.
Bologna.
Does someone actually say bologna?
I don't think so, but it's spelled with an A,
that?
right?
Yeah,
so it's weird. But it's bologna.
I've always called it bologna.
I think that's
anybody out there who actually says bologna.
I don't know why it would be spelled with an A, but I was questioning myself during the research. They're the same thing. Hot dogs, wieners, and bologna. God damn, I'm saying it now. Bologna are cooked or smoked sausages. They cannot be raw. And technically, the only difference between hot dogs and bologna is the casing and the size. So if you ever wondered like what you're eating when you're eating bologna, it's the same thing as hot dogs. But by definition, they have some ideas on definition or some protocols or requirements. There we go. They must be comminuted, comminuted, reduced to minute particles, aka they need to be semi-solid products made from one or more kinds of skeletal muscle from livestock. They may contain poultry. They must, most popular versions are skinless, which means that they were in casings during smoking and cooking and then stripped of those casings. The finished products may contain no more or may not contain more than 30% fat or no more than 10% water or a combo of 40% fat and added water. They can be up to 3.5% non-meat binders and extenders, such as non-fat dry milk or cereal, or 2% isolated soy protein. So I'm guessing that's filler. I didn't look into this that much, but I remember reading that
a lot of that stuff is like is binding agents.
Binding agents.
It helps hold it together.
And I think that's kind of the difference between like Frankfurters and bangers. That bangers have more cereal in them or something. I could be wrong on that, but a little bit different.
Like Frosted Flakes?
Exactly. That's why they're so sweet. Something in them. They're a little bit different. But you still need to keep them cold, even though they have been cooked, because they are perishable. But if you heat them up, you can keep them hot. But basically, it's like a lunch meat, cold or hot, ready to eat. However, they do say due to threat of Listerios. Man, I am just not pronouncing anything right today. Listerios. Is that Lister? Yeah.
But
Al.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Okay. It's not
Yeah.
Listeria because that ends with an A. So this is like Listeriosis. That you may want to heat it up until it's steaming, especially if you have either health risk or are have increased likelihood of food safety issues. Um, because yeah, apparently it may contain some bacteria, but for the most part, I mean, bologna you eat out of the package. You don't heat bologna up before eating. So hot dogs are the same way. And then I went to another site, dash hot dog.org, and they had what did they say? They claimed hot dogs are fully cooked and cured sausages. Hot dogs are cooked during the creation process. It's just part of it. Like they can't be hot dogs without that process. And then they had a fun video that was like 5 minutes long, and it showed you everything you've ever wanted to see. I think they don't even like their issue isn't dispelling or disproving that it's fully cooked. That just happened to be part of it. Their issue is the myth that like all these horrible things are going into hot dogs, and they're like that's not true. What goes into them are trimmings, basically small pieces and pieces that are a little tough to be steak or sold individually are basically brought together and thrown into giant blenders and battered up into like a paste. And what I thought was interesting is they do have to add ice, and this is where the added water comes in because they have to add ice from all this blending process that technically when you blend stuff, it creates heat. And so the ice helps keep it cold so it doesn't like overcook during the blending process. But they can only add so much because by definition they're only allowed to have so much water content. Uh, they are typically pumped into inedible casings, which will later be removed after the cooking and smoking process. They call them cellulose casings. Technically, they may also use natural casings, which the packaging will say natural casings, but for the most part, hot dogs that we know and eat have been decased and have been made in fake cases, not the natural casings, which are technically the natural casings are double cleaned intestines. So basically, taking the intestines out of an animal, cleaning them twice, pumping the blended mixture into them, and then cooking them. Then they're moved into a smokehouse at a controlled temp and humidity and smoked and fully cooked. That's part of the cooking process. Then they go to a machine and the strips are removed from the casing and they are packed. They said that also in this video that just to be very, very clear, hot dogs typically do not contain any like organ meat or weird stuff that Americans don't like that, so they don't sell that. And if they do, you will see on the packaging that it will say hot dogs with variety meats, like those words specifically, or the words hot dogs with meat byproducts. But if they're just hot dogs, it's not going to have any of the organ meat. And yeah, typically you won't see that. I think other countries it's a little bit different because they aren't as what's the word, picky with their foods, I guess. But yeah, that's my hot dog spiel. That hot dogs are fully cooked, and that if it's not fully cooked, it's going to be called like sausage or something because it's not technically a bologna hot dog wiener frankfurter term.
I love hot dogs still. It doesn't even matter. I
You
know
can
what's in it. I know some people in the quality assurance sector, and they've even said like the hot dog companies have a certain allowable percentage of bugs to end up in because it's just like the way that it's processed. Like there's like a
technically
certain
everything has a
allowable.
certain allowment. Like even like chocolate,
Yeah,
like they have so
yeah,
many rat feces they can allow in the chocolate and still sell it. So like next time you're
yep,
eating a chocolate bar, just know that there's allowed by law some rat feces.
yeah.
So it's just part of life, and we
It's just
don't live.
manufacturing.
Yeah, our world is imperfect and shit happens. It falls into food.
I do have an appreciation for bologna. too. I don't do cold bologna, but just take it and like sear it and then make a sandwich out of it, like so it's kind of warm. That's really good.
I don't know if I've ever had that. I was looking at pictures of that, like fried bologna sandwiches, and I'm like, God damn, I would eat
Yeah,
that.
yeah, they're really good.
I I have to say, I
I
don't
don't know
think
if
I'd
it's
have
like
a
a
problem
Midwest thing, but but like
eating
that's kind of where I learned it.
variety meats either, like the with the Oregons, like the more traditional hot dogs and sausages. I know I've had them with like the traditional casings, and I like them. It's a little gross to think about, but it makes me feel like I'm living in. Well, I just went to Renaissance Fair, Renaissance Fair,
The Renaissance Fair.
Renaissance. Thinking of like, if you're starving and you come from a world where you don't have the luxury of just picking the parts you're gonna eat, like you got to eat it all. You cook it, and that's part of life.
Don't
So
waste. Yeah.
yeah, it makes me feel like more like part of my ancestors. I guess I don't know.
More connected.
We're connected.
Well, the funny thing is, like, people are grossed out by hot dogs, but if you look at most deli meats, they're all like produced in the same fashion. Imagine like turkey
Exactly.
meat. When it's not fresh turkey, it's the scraps that are just grinded up, a bunch of binders go into it so it stays together. They put it in some sort of like casing or vessel or something. Then they either boil it or steam it to cook it, and there you go.
And like for people who are like, I didn't realize that. I'm like, how did you think they were using like a meat press to like cut slices off? Like you can't do that with a turkey. It's got bones in it. So
Yeah, it's like a true piece of like ham is supposed to be the leg of the pig, yet somehow you have a giant log with a perfect circular slice. Come on.
come on.
Come on.
You're living a dream world. Hate to burst that bubble for you. Although I
That's why
have
you
to
should
say,
always do ham off the bone.
the issue I do have is companies, and it's probably more than I think, but companies that use like bleach, no, not bleach, ammonia to clean meat because it's parts that are kind of soiled or dirty, and they can't, like, it's not hygienic enough, and so they clean it with like ammonia and then like rinse it off. I've heard that some like fast food places will, I don't know if they still do, but have done that in the past. And I'm like, that's kind of gross. When we're using like hard chemicals to. Although, with that said, I've eaten lutefisk, and that's prepared with lye. So what do I know?
Just close your eyes and just eat. Just
Just
don't even
eat
think
it,
about it. If it's tasty, it's tasty.
it's
It's all
tasty.
good.
And you're more like your ancestors.
Yep. This bleach is so tasty. Oh, close
Juicy.
your eyes. Disclaimer: do not drink bleach.
Please don't do that. That's not what we're saying.
Don't do it.
Don't do All right, so
All
that's
right.
all I
Anything
have.
else on
Moving on.
All right. That's hot dogs. Well, we cut to Penny's apartment where Sheldon arrives with one hot dog looking very wrecked. He says that he had to trade the others for his life. And now we're back at the apartment, and we learn that Raj hasn't had sex in a year. And I love the confusion on Leonard, where he's like, "Where are you going with this?"
Where are you going with this?
But Raj just wants to go out and meet some women.
I
And
like
Leonard
Raj's
just doesn't.
response too. Don't flatter yourself. Like you could do better than Leonard.
Yeah. I'm not that desperate. Well, Leonard doesn't want to go out. So Raj asks if he could download Asian porn on Leonard's computer. Which it made me wonder about like the weird random call outs to Asians. It's Asian porn in this one, and then when Sheldon was drunk a couple episodes ago, he was playing the piano, or no, he was singing Panthless. Like, and now the Asians.
Yeah.
It's like, huh. Should look to see if the writers were both the same. I wonder if they just have a thing for Asians. Well, Leonard then assures him that he will go on to meet somebody someday, and then he paints a very sad picture. He says, "Yes, you will. She'll be beautiful, kind and sexy and funny, and everything you ever want in a woman." And then you'll fall hopelessly in love. Give her your heart, and she'll take it and grind it into pathetic little pieces.
Into
And
hot
Raj is okay
dogs.
with yeah. It's gonna get steamed up and then smoked.
And smoked in a casing of your own intestines.
Yeah. And Raj is okay with that as long as it gets him some sex.
You know, I was gonna say that, like, I felt like Leonard, I guess he's broken up, but he seems kind of like I don't know, kind of whiny this episode. And then I was like, oh, he's actually being nice. And then I'm like, wait, he's turning this bad. And so, like, I don't know. I felt like he was trying to be nice, but he's depressed, and he was kind of whiny little bitch to Raj.
Yeah, he was. But at the same time, it's like I think he really wanted to be alone. I think he thought that he wanted some companionship, but he just needs to be alone for a little bit to kind of be in his thoughts.
Yeah, he was asking
And
people
Raj
to
is kind
hang
of just
out, and Raj just kind
yeah.
of stuck along. And for what it's
He's
worth,
collateral damage.
he does relent to Raj and lets Raj download Asian porn later. So I guess he's not too.
He's not. Well, then he gets to look at porn through proxy.
Yeah, exactly.
Just bear in mind, everyone, this is before the times of YouPorn or Pornhub or whatever it is. Not that I would know any of that stuff.
Lot more sketchy sites to get their porn.
Not that I've ever done that.
Not that I would know. I've read about it.
I saw a TED Talk about it.
Yeah, that's what
I saw it in the Inquirer,
the New Yorker, the BBC had an article.
This pornography? I've never heard of such a thing.
Pornography. What a strange word.
It was kind of weird. I was out driving the other day, and it was like this big truck. It was like a pickup truck, and like you know how like they have decals and stuff like that, and people could put like little stickers and stuff like that on. This dude had a big, huge logo of Pornhub on the back of his car. I was
wow.
Like, good for you, man. Good
you took something you loved and you ran with it.
It's like you must be in your early 20s.
And probably not in a serious relationship, I might add.
Yeah. I don't know how I would, if I was a girl, I don't know how I would feel if my potential date, if my date picked me up and in that truck and it had Pornhub all over it. It's like,
huh.
Yeah, I gotta go.
Either she watches a lot of porn or she's in a lot of porn, and yeah. I feel insecure either way.
Yeah. Well, anyways, they're back at Penny's and they're having their Italian meal. And Penny decides to ask about Leonard, and then she learns that he's been crying over her. And then they have like a kind of a fun conversation between the two of them, kind of a classic Penny and Sheldon, where they just want to talk about something new. And he says like, "Oh, do you have a stomachache too?" He's like, and she's like, "Wait, no, are you okay?" "No, just making conversation." "My shoes are not meant for running." "Oh, are you running?" "No."
No, it's just I get a point for being like Sheldon here. I often backtrack on statements when I'm realizing maybe I shouldn't have said that. Oops, like why did you say two? No reason.
Well, then Penny goes to grab the cheesecake, and Sheldon is in Jewish hell. Now we're back at the apartment, and Raj is full on looking at porn. Some Martha Stewart porn with a group of big Japanese guys. And then Sheldon comes back, and they question him where he's been for an hour and a half, and he makes up lots of excuses. He got lost, bad signal with the cell phone due to solar flares, and then he just decides, "Oh, my battery died," and then he leaves. And I like that the guys just aren't even really fazed by it. They're just like, whatever.
Raj is like, no, I would know about that if there's a solar flare. It's like, oh, I misspoke, my battery died. Like, what? They're like, okay. I would love to know
Whatever.
how the conversation went to allow Raj to download porn onto Leonard's computer.
Yeah, because now he has some Hillary Clinton on Oprah porn.
Yeah. Do you think this is real?
It could be happen. Prison changes you.
A prison changes you. Could happen.
Well, now we cut to Leonard's room and he's asleep, and Sheldon knocks on the door, and Leonard just yells at him to just come in. And I like that tries to leave. He's like, "Oh, you're agitated. Maybe now's not the best time." And then he just says that you better tell me what's up or I will kill you. And then I just love Sheldon, how he's like, "Man, your lack of social skills. Sometimes you just don't even know." And then he goes on to tell Leonard that he hung out with Penny, and then also a hellhound tried to kill him. But that
I like
tangent
that line. He
continues.
goes, "I." She made spaghetti with little hot dogs. I had hot dogs, gave the other 5 hot dogs to a real big dog, a hellhound. It's like a lot of dogs. Real big dog.
And then he asks why he had dinner with Penny, and it's the most logical answer. Well, she made spaghetti with little hot dogs, and I like spaghetti with little hot dogs.
It makes sense.
And then Leonard just says, "It's all good. I don't really care. You can be friends with her." And then he's relieved, and then he just dives back into the Hellhound tangent. And now we're in the laundry room. Penny enters, and Leonard is already there. They tried to coexist because they're neighbors and they're going to bump into each other. Leonard assures her that everything is going to be fine. And we learn that Sheldon's mom called Penny to take him shopping for sheets and towels. And the dynamic just instantly shifts to them being a divorced couple. Leonard was supposed to take him for sheets and towels, but he can do shoes instead. And Penny just says, "I don't know. All I know is he says that they hurt his feet." And then he says that he'll take him Saturday, but can't do that because she's taking him to Disneyland. Then Leonard warns her about Space Mountain and that he's not into Goofy, but he's fine with Pluto.
I like that she's like, he heard me talking on the phone. What was I supposed to do? Say no to him? So,
Yeah.
so I did an IQ point on for some reason Sheldon is afraid of Goofy, but he's fine with Pluto. And I think I know an answer. But I started off with this because I was kind of going on what I learned to be an urban legend that Goofy was a cow, not a dog, that he was originally a cow. And I looked at a few things, but uh, I think part of this is that he was like supposedly has a girlfriend named Clarabelle Cow, and she looks very similar to Goofy, but is obviously more cow-like. Um, so she's more cow-like. So I started off at Snopes.com, and they claim that on Disney.go.com, Goofy is supposedly a human character, but Pluto is a pet, which means there's a difference in illustrations. That Goofy has always been human-like and supposed to be human-like, and Pluto was designed to be a pet, which means that he's more dog-like as we know dogs and not more human-like. So I'm guessing it's that, what's the word? Not personification, anthropomorphizing, turning the animal into a human that has Sheldon creeped out. Like dogs aren't supposed to walk like that and have fingers and opposable thumbs. But a little bit more on Goofy. According to DisneyMouseLinks.com, Goofy began in 1932 in the cartoon Mickey's Review, and he was named Dippy Dog at the time. He was apparently a member of the audience in Mickey's Review, so he wasn't a main character. I don't think he was really talking at that time. Then a book came out called The Story of Dippy Dog, and that began his name change to Goofy, which is made official in 1939 with the cartoon release of Goofy and Wilbur. And then, according to E! Online, which was quoting a interview with Bill Farmer, the voice of Goofy since 1987. Apparently, Bill Farmer, the voice, claims he isn't a dog or a cow. He compares it to a wolf not being a dog but being a canine. He claims that Goofy is a canine, like a wolf is a canine, a dog is a canine, but a wolf is not a dog. Goofy is not a dog. He claims that Goofy is a Mog. And my understanding is this is a man dog, like John Candy in Spaceballs, who some version of this is called MAWG, but John Candy in Spaceballs is a Mog, a human dog, and basically has ears and fur and a patch on his eye. But at the end of this interview, Bill Farmer claims that Goofy is, in the end, just Goofy, his own creation of dog-like characteristics, being his own breed and species. So technically, Goofy's not technically a dog. Pluto is a dog, a cartoon version of a dog, but completely different. So that's probably why Sheldon's afraid.
Yeah, I guess so, because like every other animal or every other character is very, it's in the name. Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck,
Yeah.
Daisy Duck. But then it's just Goofy. So it's
You
kind of
know,
like, oh, he's an animal of itself.
even his girlfriend, Clarabelle Cow, right? CC. A lot of
Yeah.
alliteration with their names, like Marvel.
So now we're back at the apartment, and the guys are watching The Incredibles. And Raj asks, hey, do you think the elastic woman in The Incredibles needs to use birth control? Or can she just be a diaphragm? And then Howard just like, well, that's it. We're officially out of things to talk about.
Although I'm going to side with Raj. I think she can be a diaphragm. What do you think?
I think so. If
That's
you could
part of the
change your shape,
superpower. That's a
and
perk.
yes. Well, Penny and Sheldon return, and it's very late. Leonard is upset about this because he made food and they didn't call. Sheldon, acting like their child, tries to jump between the two of them so they won't fight. And then eventually he gets sent to bed. Um, Leonard offers her some coffee, and Howard and Raj watch the whole thing, and they are very weirded out by all this. And then Sheldon ended up puking a churro on Penny.
She let him go on Space Mountain. I have to give myself
Mm-hmm.
a point, not like anyone specifically, but I'm not like Sheldon. Sheldon seems really up into enjoying Disney. I I'm sure I'll have to go to Disneyland and Disney World someday, like if I have kids. But I dread that moment. It seems like everything I hate in life, like shows I don't like, direct sunshine, long lines, people in close proximity who probably don't smell great, like basically the medieval the Renaissance fair, but at least with the Renaissance fair, like there are swords and fighting and stuff, so I don't know.
It's the Renaissance fair is definitely more
Renaissance.
adult.
Yeah, it's more adult. So anyways, I would not be as perky as Sheldon was, and he seemed really into Disney. So, good for him, but I am not like
Yeah,
him in that way.
he's still very childlike, even though he's like a grown up. He's an intellectual. He's very smart. It's just kind of showing that that childlike sense in him.
It's still inside him.
It's still there.
Mine's not, it's dead.
If you ever have kids, it'll come back.
It's
I
alive.
know. Whee! I know. Like now that you mention it, it's like I up until I had Hunter, I never had any desire to go to Disneyland. It was just like, God, the lines. It's so expensive.
Yeah.
The lines. Everything's again so expensive.
And it
It's
probably
just those
doesn't
two
help
things
that
looping in a circle.
I have thrown
But
up so much at Disneyland and Disney World that it's in my brain that if I go, I'm going to throw up. That's just, and Sheldon threw up. So I guess I'm like him there. But for me, that's I had no go. For him, I'll go back.
So, all right. So when you go, just get out of your system at the back of the line. just start.
Is this the puke
and then
can?
You'll be fine. But I am excited to go again whenever Hunter is of age. we're still definitely like 4 years out.
Yeah.
But just to see that sense of wonder in him and to see the excitement, because we're jaded old men. We don't get
Yeah.
excited about things. We don't give a fuck. But then seeing that from him is like so magical in itself. I know I sound like a groaner, like talking about my kid like that, but it's kind of true.
You get to live vicariously, like, he's not jaded yet. That's magical.
He's not, and it is nice. It's like he sees something so simple, like a doorknob turns, and he's like,
wow.
And I'm just like, wow, to be that excited about things again. That must be nice. But it's nice that Sheldon still has that. He still has that childlike sense of wonder. Well, now we jump to his bedroom where he's asleep, and Penny and Leonard are watching him, and they think they could do it. Not smother Sheldon with a pillow, but they could actually be friends. But not with benefits.
Aww.
But he had to try. He's just goofing around. And that creates a nightmare. Poor Sheldon.
And apparently,
And
him saying goofing around, and he goes, no, Goofy, no.
No, Goofy, no.
No. I don't know what Goofy was doing to him, but...
Oh, God. Well, that's the episode. We did it. And now on to the vanity card.
Do you want me to read this one? Because technically it's my turn.
Yeah, you go for it. It's a long one, so suck it.
And I think it's quiet here, so I can do this. I have the power. Chuck Lorre Productions, number 285, the sitcom writer's prayer. Lord, if it be thy will, give unto us a story that has lots of comic potential while simultaneously exploring and defining our characters and the relationships, preferably something that hasn't been done on Dick Van Dyke's or Friends. If in thine infinite wisdom the story you provideth is over the top, please help us convince ourselves that we are creating a classic farce so we can look our actors in the eye and explain with face straight that jumping the shark is how we demonstrate our love for you. Also make us into a channel through which true and honestly funny dialogue flows to our principal, supporting, and guest characters. If on the day of judgment thy heavenly words elicit silence from the studio audience, relieve us of our suffering, O divine master, by giving us the strength to tell our friends and family that we are doing a dramedy. Finally, Lord, we call on your infinite mercy, praying that you forgiveth our many network sins, most notably Lenny and Squiggy style smash cut jokes, and that after we are brought low by the Nielsenite, you lift us up and lead us into the valley of high concept, vaguely sentimental feature films like thou didst with thine exalted emissary Jude of Apatow. Amen. Oh, couple more things. May our directors someday figure out a way to start a restaurant scene that does not require a waiter to walk across the room. And may all those internet residuals we fought for during the last strike start rolling in. Amen. Redo.
The ravings of a lunatic.
Yes. I can see some of those. It's funny because I just read a book called Hollywood vs. the Author, and it apparently like television shows and episodes have treated writers better throughout time. Like when it comes to movies, like every single story in that book and everyone I read online says, if you're a writer and you're writing for a movie, prepare to be fucked. Like it's gonna happen. You're gonna have to learn to enjoy it because it's gonna happen, and there's really nothing you can do. But with television, at least there seemed like some respect. So maybe it's a little tough, but it's not as bad. But a lot of what they were saying is kind of some of this stuff falling dialogue falling flat and trying to make it better and so on, so on.
All right, let's count up some points.
Oh, yeah.
We have 5 IQ points.
That's not bad. And I'm at 96 to 98. So I think I've gone up 2 on both sides. So same old, same old.
Same. All right. Short and sweet. All right. Well, thanks again, everyone, for listening. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Theoretical Nonsense Pod, and email us at theoreticalnonsensepod@gmail.com. And leave us a review on Apple and Spotify. We'll see you next time when we talk Season 3, Episode 21, The Plimpton Stimulation. Thanks again.
Bye. This was Theoretical Nonsense, the Big Bang Theory watch-along podcast. No PhD required. Our intro and outro music is by Alex Grohl. Thanks for listening. Disclaimer, do not drink bleach. Please don't do that. That's not what we're saying.